Hi you guys, it is Delancey and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be tips and tricks for passing the RDN license exam. This was highly requested over on my Instagram, so thank you to everybody who submitted questions over there. I'm going to be covering materials, timelines, as well as just general tips. And I apologize in advance because I filmed this over the course of days, if not weeks, so the filming is really chaotic. But I hope it is helpful and you guys enjoy. Starting off with materials, I got my little list here. The main resource that I used as kind of the foundation for all of my knowledge for the exam was the Inman review. I was given it for free by my dietetic internship program, and I think I had like year 2020 or 2021, so I was a year or two behind like the latest edition, but that really wasn't an issue at all. For anyone who likes to listen to podcasts and they use Spotify, I would recommend chomping down the RD exam with, I think, Fez Farrar, or I can't remember his name, but it's a really great podcast show. I don't think he's done a lot of episodes recently, but the episodes that he does have up are really helpful, especially for like Domain 2 and all of the MNT topics. Moving on to paid resources, the biggest app that I used and the biggest one I would definitely recommend when it comes to practice questions would be Pocket Prep. There are, I think, 1,000 questions on there if you do the premium version, and the premium version is really affordable. It's only $15 a month, and you can do like quick quizzes where you get 10 questions. You can completely customize it where you decide how many questions you want to have at a time, and then you can also choose if you want to do questions from all 4 domains or if you just want to do questions from one domain, which is what I did. I would study one domain at a time and I would do all the Pocket Prep questions for that one domain at a time. It shows your stats, where your strengths and weaknesses are, and it does give explanations for every question, which is so helpful for studying. It's not a matter of just getting, a practice question right or wrong. It's also understanding why you got it wrong or why you got it right. So really helpful. Love Pocket Prep. And then what I used for kind of like review sessions, what was especially helpful when it came to all of the, math equations that were on the test, I used All Access Dietetics, one of their packages. At the time, it was like the most affordable package, and it just included 9 review lectures, I think, on various, important topics within the 4 domains. So helpful. Like I said, it was perfect for all of the food service math as well as tube feeding and TPN. You may be really familiar with those equations already because you did them in your clinical rotation, but I think All Access Dietetics does a really good job at just breaking those concepts down to just being really simple, just to get you through the exam. I paid like under $300. I went and checked recently and I don't think they offer that package anymore. I think they restructured the different services they offer, so I'll link it down below and you guys can check it out. And then the last resource that I paid for was Eat Right Prep, which is an application provided by Eat Right Pro. It's essentially this kind of like website or dashboard that has flashcards on it, explanations, you can play games. What I really bought that service for was for the practice exams. So Eat Right Prep provides, I think, 3 practice exams and then 2 practice exams that are meant to simulate the actual exam. So they're timed, and I think the ratio of questions, what domains they're pulled from, it's meant to entirely mimic the actual exam. Some people would argue that Eat Right Prep is a little harder than the actual exam, and I would agree that questions are worded kind of funky and some of the information is like really far out there. But I kind of like that because I felt like if I could get through Eat Right Prep in one piece, then hopefully the RD exam would be a little easier for me. That being said, I feel like if there was one resource that I would have nixed or saved money on, it would probably be Eat Right Prep, just because I don't feel like it was so integral to my success. It was kind of like the nice cherry on top. Other resources that I did not use, but I would suggest at least checking out, would be the CDR practice exams. I have a lot of friends who did those and found them to be really helpful. They are like Pocket Prep, where they will give explanations for all of the different questions and answers. Same thing with Eat Right Prep, they give explanations as well. I feel like what's great about them is because CDR, they're the people who put out the actual license exam, so it makes sense that you would want to do practice exams from them. And then another resource would be an app called Pass the RD Exam. It's an app similar to Pocket Prep, but it's not just an app. There are also packages out there on its related website that do video lectures, have tutoring services. The girl who runs it, I have become friends with, and she's awesome. So I'll link everything down below so you can kind of check it out, see if it's for you. From what I've seen, she has a really great pass rate. And then finally, another resource that is actually free that I didn't get around to using, but like I said, a lot of my friends did, and that was just Facebook study groups. These study groups, they are originally created with the intent of selling tutoring services. So all of these tutors out there, they create these Facebook groups to answer questions and kind of entice people to sign up for tutoring. I did not use it for that. I originally signed up just as a way to chat with other people who are studying for the exam, get any free resources that they may have. Like I said, I didn't really end up using it, but I will link the Facebook groups down below if you want to check them out. So definitely take your time, shop around before you invest in anything, find out what really works for you. Okay, so in terms of timeline and how I spaced out my studying, I gave myself 9 weeks to study for this exam. I think 9 weeks was really sufficient. In some ways, it felt like it might have been a little bit too long because towards the end, I felt like things were really dragging and I was getting really anxious. I had one friend who studied within 5 weeks and she thought that that was a good timeline. So maybe somewhere between 5 and 9 is what I'd recommend, but I've heard other people who will study for like a year. So it really is just up to you and your current situation. The 9 weeks was helpful for me in some ways because I had started my job and I was adjusting to that. I had a few other personal projects and things going on that I was attending to, so I really needed that extra time. And then in terms of how I broke up the domains, so you have 4 domains to study. What I did was I dedicated 2 weeks per domain. So what I would do is in the first week, I would just read through the Inmin, divide out how many pages I needed to do per day in order to do that. And then I actually would sit with my laptop and I would retype out those notes from Inmin into my own makeshift study guide that I was making. And some of it was word for word, but other parts I really challenged myself to put it into my own words. And then the weekend in between that first and second week, I was maybe starting to watch some review videos from All Access Dietetics. Maybe I was doing some practice questions if I felt comfortable doing that. And then in the second week, I was sticking to pocket prep and I would only do the questions for that particular domain. And I had printed out the notes that I had taken on Inmin and I took a different colored like pen or marker and I was taking notes on top of my original notes with any new information that I learned while doing practice questions or like I said, listening to lectures from All Access Dietetics. So I did 2 weeks of that for each domain. And then at the end, whatever weeks were left or whatever time I had left, I was just doing more practice exams. I pretty much was doing Eat Right Prep towards the very end because that was a cumulative, all-inclusive domain questions to work with. And then just filling in any gaps. If I saw that I was really deficient somewhere, I would take extra time, watch a lot of YouTube videos, find different ways to approach the information to help me. And the way I stayed on top of this whole study schedule was that I used an online planning website called Notion.com. I love Notion. I use it now at work and in my everyday life and for YouTube. It's kind of like a digital planner. It's very helpful. And if anyone uses Notion or you want to start using Notion to study for this exam, I will link it down below. It is a free service. There may be premium offers, I'm not sure, but I use the free service. And I will also link a template of the study page that I use. So if you're interested in that, want to check it out, definitely click the link down below. Okay, so my first piece of advice is going to be mainly for visual learners, but I feel like other people can use it too, and that is to just write things out. If you come across a piece of information or concept that's just not sticking, try and mix it up a little bit. I find that when you take information and you put it into your own words, or you put it into a graph or a mind map, or even if you draw pictures of the actual concept, kind of like you're turning your studying into an art project, I find that you increase your chances of having the information stick better. I feel like you'll get a greater grasp or understanding of the information as well, as opposed to just sitting there and reading it and trying to memorize it. I feel like your brain can only take so much, so you got to switch it up a little bit. And I find that when I write things out too, and I put it into graphs and I draw it out and I really get involved with the material, I start to see connections between pieces of information from different domains. So I know with the test, it can be really overwhelming because it seems like the information is so vast and so expansive. But I think what you'll find is that eventually the information starts to relate back on itself. So for example, when I was studying foodborne illnesses in domain 4, I found that that information started to relate back to other food service concepts in domain 4, as well as food science concepts in domain 1 and nutrition-related illnesses and diseases in domain 2. Okay, so my next tip is going to be to find ways to take what you are learning in your studies, apply it into your daily regular life. Even better if you can apply it into your professional life. I was just consciously kind of in the mindset of finding all the different instances where material that I was learning in my studies was coming up in my job, or finding opportunities where I could apply what I was learning for the exam in my job. I'm in the field of business and marketing, so a lot of things with like management theories were popping up, things like budgeting, staffing, those concepts were kind of coming up in my daily life, in my profession, and so I was just being hyper aware of that. We also work with a lot of nonprofits, so I was staying very conscious of all the different abbreviations they use, Googling any abbreviations I didn't understand, and that really helped with a lot of the different government agencies that are out there, as well as the surveys and surveillance systems, all those kinds of things you have to learn for the exam. So you may not be working just yet. You might be in kind of an interim, or you'll be picking up your job after you take the exam, and that's totally fine. But I would just say to be in the mindset of finding opportunities and ways to apply what you are learning into your regular daily life, because I think that that really helps with like long-term memory. And what's really important for the exam is not just memorizing the information, but being able to know it inside and out so that you're able to think critically when you are given questions that maybe aren't so straightforward and they're a little ambiguous. Can you tell I like to wear this hat a lot? Okay, and my final tip, look to resources that are intended for other members on the healthcare team. So what I mean by that is that if you log on to YouTube and you're looking up a video on a specific topic, maybe you're really stumped on a specific disease state, don't only look at videos that talk about nutrition related to the disease or videos that are intended for dietitians, though you definitely want to do that and start there. I would recommend you also check out videos about that disease that are meant for pharmacology students or pre-med students or nursing students. Me, for example, I had a really hard time grasping the diabetes medications we had to know, all the different types of insulin out there. So I watched a pre-med student video. It was meant for pre-med students, and just one go through of that video and I was able to memorize those medications so much easier. I mean, it was a huge difference, like night and day, and it only took me like 15 minutes to watch that video. So while consuming resources meant for other people on the healthcare team might give you information that isn't really necessary for the exam, it's going to give you a very robust understanding of the topic and really hone your critical thinking skills, which is so key to passing the exam. Okay, you guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. If you have any additional questions for me or you want to make requests for future videos, be sure to leave them down in the comments. And thank you, as always, for all of your support. You guys rock. Thank you for supporting me and my channel and everything I do. And yeah, I will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.